Welcome to your garden Q&A for this week. For those that are joining us for the first time and maybe don't know who the heck I am, my name is Frank Ferragini, aka Frankie Flowers, four-time best-selling garden author, lifetime experience in the world of gardening. My family own and operate two garden centers just outside of Toronto, one in Bradford, Ontario, one in Barrie, Ontario. Greenhouse growers as well. You can see me Monday through Fridays on Breakfast Television, where I'm wild about weather, passionate about plants, where I forecast for you each and every week and try to bring you through this journey of the world of gardening as well as the world of weather and try to make you have better gardens. If you're here for the first time, you can go into the comments, and on those comments, you can pose a question. Maybe you have something that you want to comment about your own garden, maybe share a tip or trick. I'll get to as many questions during this half hour as possible and try to help you through the journey of gardening. But at the same time, the community of gardeners that are on here will help you answer those questions as well. I got to give a shout out to Sue Poff this evening. Sue, good to hear from you. I hope you're doing great with your garden that's there up in, of course, Muskoka. You'll see me next weekend. I'll show you in a little bit of time here up in Huntsville. I'll be at Muskoka Bay Resort. Forgive me, in Muskoka. I'll be at Muskoka Bay Resort. Sometimes I don't know where the heck I'm going to go. We got Deborah that's saying hi, Frankie. Hi to you as well. We have a question here this evening as well. It looks like it was an email. Is this a great week to put down Grub Be Gone in Ottawa, or should we wait until next week? Jen, what I would recommend you to do is probably put the Grub Be Gone down now. We have had a light winter. As a matter of fact, I even had some kale that overwintered. Because we had a light winter, that means the grubs didn't go as deep into the surface. So what's ideal about right now is we've actually had some wet weather over the last several days. So if we were to put Grub Be Gone down, let's say on Monday, tomorrow, and we get some additional rain, that'll actually water the Grub Be Gone into your lawn. And that's what we need for effective control. The one thing is about applying it down, it's about applying it right. Because it's actually a bacteria, it's actually called Bacillus thuringiensis, it needs to be applied on a lawn that's wet and then watered in. So because we've had the rain, it's actually a nice ideal time for that. We got Linda saying good evening as well from Holland Landing. I want to give a shout out to all those that attended the Milton Home Show yesterday that I had the chance to speak to, and also those that attended the Our Home Show today in just outside of Collingwood in the Blue Mountains at Alpine Ski Club. It was great to meet you all. It was great to talk about gardens, some compelling questions, many of the same questions that we have on the live little garden Q&A as well. But it was really a great time had by all. We got another question here this evening from Susan. Hi from North Scarborough. My lilies are just starting to come up, but the squirrels are eating the tops off, so I won't have them this year. What can I do to prevent the squirrels or to deter the squirrels? A couple things that you can do. Number one is you can actually spray them with Animal Be Gone. That will actually leave a residual taste. Apply some chicken manure in the areas as well. Sometimes chicken manure will be enough to discourage them out of the area. They don't tend to like chicken manure. So once again, pelletized chicken manure that you can get that'll actually help with fertilizing, or spray them with something that's a repellent, like Animal Be Gone is just one example of a repellent. We got Debbie. Debbie's asking, hi Frank, is it okay if I plant my lettuce plants in pots now? I'm in Ajax. Yes, you can plant them now. Put them outside. This week we do have some milder air, frost-free conditions, but still keep an eye out for frost. If we get frost, put them indoors, but yes, indeed, pop them outside. And now's a good time for lettuce. We got Sue that's saying, she's saying, sorry, there's Sue. She says, sorry, I'll miss you this weekend. We'll be heading to Port Pelee for the bird migration. Amazing, by the way. Port Pelee, just outside of Leamington, awesome area. Hello from Orangeville. When would be a good time to prune a rose bush hedge? That's Rosa rugosa, I'm assuming, if it's a hedge. So generally a shrub rose, they bloom on new wood. So we can prune it now if you want to do some selective pruning to make it shape, or after it's done its bloom period, it's going to bloom mostly all summer. We can prune it then. But I wouldn't fear about pruning now, or even once it flushes out, even in mid-June or July, even into July. The key is when you're pruning that, we want to do it on a period when we have more cooler conditions and even some rain in the forecast, because it won't go through as much stress. If you were to prune it in July on a week where we had 7 days of sunshine and hot, dry conditions, that would stress the plant. So you could do it now without any fears whatsoever. We have a question here about a magnolia. Love magnolia. Happy Sunday, Jen. Do you have a favorite magnolia tree? Looking to assist With privacy in the front of our Norway spruce, we are open to other suggestions. Thank you, from Ottawa. Probably the best magnolia tree in Ottawa wouldn't be the saucer magnolia, it would be the star magnolia. Star magnolias are a little bit zoned hardier than what the saucer magnolia is, so I would recommend the star magnolia for you. We got Debbie, who's saying, thanks for answering. See you tomorrow on BT. Yes, indeed, you will see me tomorrow on BT. Tracy Reynolds, who has a wonderful flower shop. You missed me at Brookfield Place. As a matter of fact, I was at First Canadian Place with Brookfield, and it was a great little presentation. But don't worry, we'll see each other again. Jenny, we got Jenny. Hi from Scarborough. Hi, Scarborough. Is it too early to plant tomatoes outside? I grew some from seeds and trying to figure out when I should pot them up and wait to plant outside. So what you would want to do now is start hardening them off. It is too early to plant them outside because there is still a chance of risk of frost and the soil's quite cold. But if you're putting them in pots, if you're planting them in pots, you can put those pots out on warmer days and then move them in. But we need to harden them off. So on these next couple of days, because we're going to have temperatures tomorrow around 15 degrees, midweek around 17. We could even touch into the 20s this week. Those tomato plants being outside during the day and maybe brought in at night will harden them off. Don't put them in direct sun, put them in part sun, and then gradually introduce them to the sun, and that'll help you out. Just look at hardening off seedlings on Google for some additional information to help you there as well. Lori, hi Frankie, what are your thoughts on horse manure for vegetables and flower gardens? Thanks, Lori from Peterborough. Well, if you're getting the horse manure, make sure it's composted. Make sure that's sat for a significant period of time, because if it's directly from a horse, it'll be actually quite acidic and hot. It'll be hot manure, meaning that it'll burn the plants. Horse manure is fantastic. Actually, it's a really good manure for vegetable gardens. I wouldn't do all horse manure. I mix it with existing soil, but you got to make sure that's been sitting for a while so it's not going to burn the plants for you as well. We got Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Is there a support for seedlings if they are leggy? So if they're leggy, Michelle, a lot of the times the reason for that is keeping them too wet and they're stretching towards light. So they're not near enough light and they could be too warm. Cut back on your watering, allow them to dry in between watering. Make sure that they're getting adequate light, which is really key, and start cooling them off to start thickening the stems up. There's no support in terms of leggy seedlings. And sometimes if they're really leggy and they really stretch, you may need to start over because they may just be too weak. But that's usually a case of too much water and them stretching for light, not enough light. So we got Jane, who's just giving a shout out to Linda. Hey, Linda. We got Matthew, my good friend Matthew, who's saying, hi, Frank. How was your weekend? My weekend was good. Started in Milton at the Milton Home Show. And then yesterday I was in Collingwood. Also spent some time with a fabulous friend as well. And then what do we got this evening? Dominica. Good evening, Frankie. Hello from Innisfil, not far from me, which is amazing. We got Anne, who's telling me about her hydrangeas. I planted hydrangeas in the fall for the first time. Do I prune now before new leaves grow? So if the hydrangea plant, you can hear my son's coming home. That's why my dog is barking outside there. If you planted a hydrangea that's either a pink hydrangea or a blue hydrangea, those are macrophilias, also known as large leaf hydrangeas. We do not want to prune those at this time of the year because they bloom on what grew last year. If the hydrangea variety that you planted blooms white or actually has a cone-shaped flower, let's say it's Limelight, PG, Incredible, any of those varieties, and there's even others like Fire and Ice, they bloom on new wood. We would prune now. So we need to know the specific variety of hydrangea to give you the most up-to-date information. My good friend Donna. Hey, Donna, how you doing out there this evening as well? Haven't seen you in a while. We got Hope Hall this evening. Hi, Frankie. We got Shelly Johnson, who is giving us a question evening from Oakville. Can I put geraniums in a cold frame now? Absolutely, you can. My husband has had enough. Too many plants in the house. Thank you. Yes, indeed. You can put them in the cold frame right now. Just pay attention to the overnight temperatures. We're pretty good overall, and it'll probably be pretty good. The only thing about cold frames on really warm days, a cold frame, if you're wondering what the heck that is, basically a greenhouse. But on a hot, sunny day, and we have a cold frame, what happens is they almost get too hot. So on those really warm days, make sure you open the doors on the cold frame and allow some airflow and air circulation to go in, or just take those geraniums and put them outside. We got Hope Hall, who's saying hello from Balafad. I don't know where that is. We got Janice this evening. Hi, Janice. Hi, Frank. Hello from Mississauga. I didn't prune my hydrangeas in the fall. Have buds coming on the old wood. Should I prune? Once again, super important for us to know which hydrangea that is. If that hydrangea is Annabella, Incredible, PG, Limelights, Fire and Ice, those that are either white flowering or they have a cone-shaped flower, you can prune them now. If they're pink or blue, there'll be a large leaf. Don't prune those now. Wait till after they're finished their bloom period before that. Tracy Barber in a beautiful location, Port Rowan, Ontario. Hello for you. We got Deb this evening as well. Deb, hi from Waterloo. Just wondering when you can plant potatoes. Potatoes, we really want a little bit warmer of a soil temperature. So I would do that for the second week of May. And then you're doing seed potatoes when you're planting your potatoes. Really important for you. Never plant potatoes and tomatoes beside each other because they're both from the same family, which is the deadly nightshade family, the nightshade family. Often if we plant them together, we'll actually get a higher chance of disease or insects that'll affect both of them. So as a rule of thumb, never plant potatoes and tomatoes together. Can I transplant tiger lilies right now? Absolutely, Shelly. Go ahead, do it. You can transplant those guys any time of the year, but now is ideal. Nice cooler air, nice cooler temperatures. My good friend Ashley up in Aurelia. Hi, Frankie. We're moving, and there's plants I'd like to take with me, both spring flowering and summer. Any advice on how to go about this? Let's pot them up. So right now, if you want to go to a local nursery and or garden center, you can get some grower pots. Let's say that they're perennials. You get some 2-gallon pots or even 1-gallon pots and do some divisions of those and put them in containers. And those containers, after you put them in the containers, just sink them right into the ground. Then when you go to move, you lift them and you transplant them to the new house. If there's some of the larger plants, you can get a 5-gallon container. You can get a 10-gallon container in the same process. Put them in pots now. The reason, cooler temperatures, greater frequency of rain, you have them all potted up, easy to move then. Continue to water them during the growing season. They'll establish some good roots in there, and then you can just transplant them when you get to a new location. When can I transplant a lilac? You can transplant a lilac now. The only risk and threat that you have with transplanting a lilac now is that you may not get any blooms for this year. It could actually drop its blooms because it's going to focus more on its root system, but you'll get blooms for next year. The other option, if you don't want to do it in spring, so up until about the middle of May is the best time, you can then do it again in late August all the way through to mid-October. Those are some good times to transplant as well. We got Janice there with another question. Was a Fab Garden Center this week. Matthews Farm, 25 minutes from Collingwood, not too far from Eugenia, a Mennonite family. Actually, there are some amazing Mennonite families that are greenhouse growers. Several of them are actually buy plug trays, which are baby seedlings for my family. Some great hardworking families out there that do some great things out there as well. Let's go. And I want to just show you something because I promised you last week, if you watched, to tell you a little bit about dianthus. So my good friend, Tanya Carvalho, is the dianthus promoter, the dianthus queen. So dianthus are pretty amazing plants. They are actually just really a dynamic plant that can last and do really well in cooler temperatures in early spring, perform well in the summer, and actually do tremendously well into the fall as well. A little bit about Tanya Carvalho. The reason why she didn't join me on the talk this evening is she's actually in Germany. Floral Plant Selecta 1, she's a territory manager for Canada. Floral Plant Selecta 1, which is Ball Floral Plant Selecta 1, is one of the largest suppliers and breeders of plants, annual plants and even perennial plants in the entire world. So here are some of her favorite varieties of dianthus and carnations. One variety of carnation is called the Captain Series of Carnation. This is a beautiful new introduction that won the AAS Award, which is the All-American Selection winner from the National Garden Bureau. It won the Reader's Choice Medal of Excellence. It's got huge blooms that are double on tall stems that can be used in containers or in the ground, and some can even use it as a cut flower. So once again, that's the Captain Series. There's also the Oscar Series of Carnation. These guys come in 13 different colors. They are beautiful. They're very great performers in containers or in the garden. Large double blooms can be planted in April and will flower all the way to November in Ontario. The nice thing about the Oscar carnation as well is they're very fragrant. There's also a really fun carnation, which is called the I Love You series of carnations. These guys here are great because you can bring them indoors in right around Valentine's Day and enjoy them on Valentine's Day and then put them outside into the garden. So a really wonderful gift, but also a really great garden performer. And then another nice series is which is one called Pink Kisses. This is actually a dianthus. And because it is a dianthus, it's hardy to zone 5, meaning that in many areas across Ontario will come back as a perennial. This one here it's fragrant, beautiful fragrance. And we have some great new additions and colors coming in Pink Kisses coming up in 2026, so in a few years from now. And then finally, her top 5, her number 5 is the Everlast series of dianthus. It's also a beautiful perennial to zone 5. This is neon pink, which has that bright pink color with a dark foliage, an amazing, amazing plant that just pops in the landscape. And just another reminder, if those out there are trying to figure out where you can see me next, coming up next Saturday, May the 4th, I'll be at Muskoka Bay Resort. We're going to be talking about gins and we're going to be talking about gardens. I just let you know, originally this was only available for those that were staying overnight, but now it's opened up that you can just join us for the dinner and the interactive garden session where we do have a giveaway. So it'd be great for you to come out to that as well. So there's a little bit about dianthus, which we promised you that we would bring to you. And I hope that was some interesting information that is out there. We got, let's go, what do we got here for some other questions that we got going out here? We got Tracy Reynolds who's talking about dianthus. I poo-poo dianthus for 20 years. I embrace them now. It's amazing how many of them, how that kind of goes around overall as well. We got a question if they're annuals. So the first 3 varieties that I introduced to you are annuals, but the last 2, which are of dianthus, are perennials to zone 5. We got what are the best natural way here, insecticides to tackle ants on plants. So there are ant baits that are available. There are the ortho ant baits that are available, which are really quite good. The other thing that we can do if we see ants and we see an ant mound is we can just take boiling water and pour it over top. The other thing we can do is take a hose and just place the hose there and let it drip to drown them out of the area. We can also take a mixture of sugar and borax, 50% mixture, and put it near the mounds. And what happens is the ants take that as a bait and they'll bring it into the colony and feed the queen ants. Once you kill Hi, there we go. We're back again. We got Susan out there. Susan's got a little bit of a recommendation, which you got there as well. So that's the nice thing. You can see that the garden community that's on here is actually helping, giving tips and tricks as well. We got Miriam, my good friend Miriam. Hello, you're very welcome out there, Miriam, as well. We got Melissa. Have you garden? We have a garden that gets out of control with weeds. If there's something you recommend that we can prevent, and what should we do? So if we want to cut down the weeds in our garden, first thing that we may have is a lot of exposed soil. So maybe what we need to do is plant some additional plants in there to not give it as much space to weeds to grow. If we don't want to do that, then what we can do is put mulch down. And that mulch will actually shade out weed seeds, not allowing them to germinate. Now that we're in spring, we're just starting, and my goal tomorrow in my own home garden, because we just had rain, so the soil's nice and wet. So tomorrow what I'm going to do is I'm going to weed out all my existing weeds that germinated during the winter in my gardens. I'm going to do a nice edge around all my garden beds tomorrow. I'm going to amend some of the soil tomorrow. In some areas, I'm going to mulch. So we can start now. So by either planting additional plants, not giving enough space for the weeds, or mulching are your two best bets that are out there. We got Frozen. There we go. I'm back again, guys. I'm back again. We got Lynn that's here. Sorry about that. Some technical difficulties. I did what you suggested yesterday, sprinkled Miracle Grow fertilizer on my garden yesterday. Fantastic. And the reason why that is so fantastic, of course, is with the rain. That rain is going to help that slow release fertilizer break down and do very well. We got Miriam with a question this evening as well. Good evening, Frankie. How are you? Frankie, how do I determine that cherry tree I have in my backyard for the last 4 years, whether it's an ornamental cherry or a fruit-bearing cherry? It had bloomed before, but no signs of fruit yet. So if it's not fruiting, sometimes what happens is we don't actually have another pollinating fruit tree there, but there are ornamental varieties of fruit trees. So all the cherry trees that you're seeing now that are in Hyde Park and many of the pictures that you're seeing in Vancouver, they're a Japanese flowering cherry tree. Most of them are actually the Kwanzai flowering cherry tree, which is an ornamental cherry tree with no bloom, with no fruit, forgive me. They have a bloom, no fruit. If you want, you can send me a picture of your cherry. Usually they're more of a double bloom. Many of the single bloom flowers are typically the fruit-bearing fruit trees that are out there. We got Amy. Hello, Amy. Amy Beck, forgive me. Hi, Frankie. How to get rid of grubs? Does dish soap actually work? Amy from Ottawa. Dish soap can help with many insects that we have on our plants, because what that does is smother insects like aphids and basically allows them not to breathe anymore, and they end up dying. Dish soap does not work on beetles, and dish soap would not work on a larvae like a grub, which is in your soil. That's why we have to use either Grub B Gone, which is my favorite, my recommended. The other option is nematodes. So either Grub B Gone or nematodes are your two ways for effective control on that. I love Tracy Reynolds out here. She's saying hi to her cousin. I love that they're talking in here as well. We got Jessica. Jessica is saying, why won't fruit trees grow properly in my yard? So sun is really important. So you need to have full sun. Soil is really important as well. So if you don't have a good soil, if it's clay-based and they're drowning, that's the case. Selecting a fruit tree that's zone hardy for your area is super important. And then as well, making sure that the fruit trees you're selecting, some of them may need a pollinator, meaning that you need 2 fruit trees instead of 1. So finding out that information is really key. So if you have sun, you have good soil, you should be able to grow a fruit tree as long as it's zone hardy for you. We got Janice that's got a question here as well. Any plant ideas for sandy soil that are deer and rabbit resistant? Asking for a friend. So sandy soil are things that we're looking for. They're more drought tolerant. So if it's in a full sun location, echinacea, which is coneflower, tend to do very well around deer and also around things like rabbits. If there's no other food source, sometimes they will eat, but often they'll stay away. Coneflowers is also, that's coneflowers, which is the echinacea, but as well as rudbeckia, which is black-eyed Susan, is something that works as well. Many thorny plants are really good for rabbit resistance and deer resistance. So even some of the Rosa rugosa, the shrub roses in sun, are really good. So prairie plants are the ones that you would look for, and sandy soils that are in sunny conditions that are out there. Apple and pear trees is what she has. So if you only have 1 apple and 1 pear, they actually will not pollinate each other. So you need 2 apples that will actually want to pollinate each other and 2 pears that will want to pollinate each other's. Find out the varieties of the apple and pear trees that you have. If you email me, I'll tell you which other varieties will pollinate them for you. And I will have to look that up to make sure as well, because I can't do that right off memory. We got Janet. Janet with the question, how do we get rhubarb to grow? We tried different ways over many years. Nothing. Rhubarb actually takes a few years of establishment to grow. So a lot of the times it's patience. It grows in fairly rich soils that are well drained. So almost like a sandy loam. They do well in sunny locations. It's a perennial plant that comes back year after year. They don't like to be sitting wet for too long. And then they do very well with every fall. If you were to put just a little, if you took 1 bag of like a cow and or sheep manure and just mix that soil around the base of the rhubarb as they go into winter, the frost and thaws work them in, and that'll work out really well for you as well. So we got Nina. Hi, Nina. Holy raspberry bush. How Does one maintain it? My one has multiplied, delicious, but it's taking over. That's the problem with the raspberries. Those raspberry canes will grow underground and continue to shoot up and grow everywhere if not left and contained. So what I would do is dig a really nice deep edge around where your raspberry bushes are and continue to edge that out so that we're not allowing that raspberry to spread to other areas. Sometimes you can even build a box around that, and you're sinking some wood into the ground, like a pressure treated lumber into the ground, or something that will build a barrier so it doesn't go into other areas. Raspberry canes sound like a good idea, but they can become a very bad idea overall. We got David, and David's got a question about his apple trees. I have one apple tree and one apricot tree. I'm lucky if I get 4 apples per year. Any idea why not? And what can I do? So sometimes when we're getting lots of flower production, we actually are getting some fruit that are there, but we're not really getting a lot of fruit. It's pollination, right? So it's a fruit set. Setting the fruit is pollinating. What pollinates for us is our bees. So incorporating and maybe welcoming more bees to the area is one way. An apricot will not pollinate an apple, and an apple will not pollinate an apricot. You may be getting lucky that there's maybe another apple tree close to the area that is helping you with the pollination, but maybe the addition of another apple tree could actually help with the additional amount of fruit that you're going to get. Some apple trees are self-pollinating if they actually have 2 varieties on one stem. That'll work out on that way as well. So I'd really like to know the variety apple tree and the variety apricot tree. And if you can want to send them to me, you can send it to frankie@frankieflowers.com. I've got Janice that's giving another recommendation here as well. I cover with mesh, plastic, or metal, bit around, a bit arduous, but it seems to work. You can buy it at the nursery or dollar store. So some nice different recommendations that are happening as well that are out there. We got Jessica that's asking, what can I do to stop squirrels from digging up my bulbs? One great way, what you can do is when you go to plant your bulbs in the fall, what you can do is then after you're done planting, put chicken wire down and then put soil on top of the chicken wire. The bulbs will grow through the chicken wire. Squirrels, when they go to dig, they can't get through the chicken wire to get to your bulbs. Great way to protect them. You can actually even get bulb baskets, which are tulip baskets, which you plant the bulbs in the baskets that protect many tulips and different bulbs away from squirrels as well. I'm going to see if we got another couple of questions that are here. If not, I'm going to log off for today. We got this again. We got people asking about squirrels as well. Another thing, Jessica, about squirrels is squirrels, once I mentioned, hate chicken manure. So kind of top dressing with chicken manure can be a great benefit. Another thing that we can do is if we can't beat squirrels, we feed them. So put a squirrel feeder to the far end of your property. That squirrel feeder being on the far end of your property will really keep them busy and keep them away from your bulbs. So sometimes if we can't beat them, we feed them. We always got to figure out what they don't like to see, what they don't like to touch, what they don't like to taste. And once again, they really hate pelletized chicken manure that you can put on the top that will really help you as well. We got Jessica that's saying, I have chickens. That manure that the chickens actually have, putting some of that around the base of your plants is really quite beneficial for your gardens and could help you out as well. So we got thanks for all the tips that are out there as well. We got Matthew Amos that's saying a little bit about Harry Potter, which is quite good as well. And you know what, guys? We're almost at a half an hour. So I'm going to take this opportunity to thank everybody for joining us this evening for this little session where we're here to Q&A. I'm going to also be very honest with you. Technically, the platform that I use, which is called Restream, has been freezing. So I got to do some back-end work on that to make sure that this is working a little bit more effectively. But I'll be here next Sunday at 7 to answer your garden questions, to help you out. You can watch me tomorrow on Breakfast Television. Check out my Instagram. Check out my Facebook page. I'm always here to help you. And once again, frankieflowers.com is where you can email me, or my email, frankie@frankieflowers.com. To all those, have a wonderful Sunday and keep blooming no matter where you are.